C++ is a general purpose language. It is used in many different fields of software development. It is widely used to make device drivers and operating systems. So, if you're using an Apple Macintosh or a PC with Windows, then you are already using C++ because these operating systems have been built using C++. Then C++ is also used for teaching and research, as this is very helpful while learning the basic concepts. C++ helps you to focus on the basic concepts and helps you in building logic. So it's generally taught in schools and colleges. Okay, since it has so many wide application, it possesses a lot of features also. First of all, it is a middle level programming language. Now we have heard about high level programming languages and low level programming languages. What middle level programming language is, it basically has features of both high level language and low level language. Although it's easy to use like a high level language, it also has features making it possible to work on low level. So it helps us in interaction with hardware. Then it is a statically typed language. This means that whatever variables we declare, you need to tell whether it is an integer or decimal or whatever in the code itself. And the compiler is not going to decide the type on its own. You have to define it in the code itself. So it is statically typed. When you type it, you need to define the data types. Next, it is a general purpose language and it is a free form programming language, meaning that you can use any of the forms like procedural programming, object oriented programming, or generic programming. By procedural programming, we mean that you focus more on the process. Whatever is a job, let's say you want to make tea, so you will focus more on the process. First do this, then that, and then that. So that is procedural programming. Object oriented programming is when you focus more on objects rather than process. We will be discussing object oriented programming in some detail later. Generic programming is again related to general. Basically, in this programming language, you can use generic things like you make a function which does something, and this function is capable of handling integers also, it's capable of handling decimal values also, it's capable of handling strings also. So that is the magic of generic programming. So C++ supports all the three: procedural, object oriented, and generic. Now let's talk more about OOPS, that is object oriented programming structure. So object oriented programming structure has 5 basic points. First is encapsulation, that is you bind your properties and your functions together at one place. So anything like, say, an animal will have properties like it will have a color, it will have some behavior, that is all its properties, and it will have some functions also, like it will walk, it will sleep, it will eat. So you bind all these properties and functions together at one place, you call it a class, and then you make objects out of it. So this is encapsulation, where you bind the properties and functions together at one place. Next is data hiding. Now in object oriented programming, you keep your data hidden from the outside world to prevent unauthorized access. So object oriented programming is quite safe. Next is abstraction. Now think about it. If you hide your data from the outside world, what is the utility of your data? It has no utility left. So you expose little amount of data to the world, but only that which is required, and you hide all other unessential details from the user. So this is abstraction. Next is inheritance. Inheritance is like you have your class animal and you have a class dog. So obviously the dog is also an animal. So dog will inherit its features from an animal, add some of its own features which are distinct to a dog, and hence make a new class dog using an already existing class animal. This is inheritance. Next is polymorphism. Polymorphism is poly means many and morphism means forms. So polymorphism is many different forms of the same thing. So suppose we take the same class of dog. Dog has a function of speaking. So the dog speaks. But how the dog speaks depends upon the mood of the dog. So let's say the dog is happy. So how will it speak? It will speak maybe somewhat like "Bo, bo." I mean, it will be like quite soft bark from the dog, not a very terrible and frightening bark. Now, let's say the dog is angry now. So how will it speak? Maybe it will speak like "bo bo 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 bo," and it will frighten you up. So that is polymorphism. You can make the same thing act differently in different situations. If you wish to learn the concepts of object-oriented programming more, there is a separate video on object-oriented programming and you can refer that.